Welcome to Duck Chatter. This episode I'm going to discuss how to sharpen your skills on a duck call, whether it be double reed or single reed. I'm going to start out with a double reed, just try to give you a few pointers to help to get a better sound or better quality of sound or more range. Same thing with a single reed call. Alright, I'm starting out with a double reed. This is a meat hanger. It's our loudest double reed call. A lot of people blow double reed calls because, one, the ease of use. They're very easy to blow. Most people can pick up a double reed call and make it sound good. The ways that you make the double reed have more range and sound better in quality is the same way you blow into a single reed. The hotter the air, the better the sound. So if you pick up a call and you just blow into it with just air, the double reed sounds halfway okay. But if you put hot air into it, like you're fogging a window, hot air, hear how much wider and deeper the sound gets? The hotter the air, the deeper the sound, and the less air pressure you have to put into the call when you put hot air into it. Not only will it make it wider, it'll allow you to control the call down to a lower volume and allow you to have more range on the duck call. And I'm going to show you that right here. Anyway, the hotter the air, the deeper the sound, the better quality of sound you're going to get. For example, I want to blow the call backwards so you can kind of hear, and this is good for you to do so you can hear yourself. So number one, you find out that you're not over grunting. Over grunting is a bad habit that a lot of people pick up. What it causes you to do is be monotone, like you only have one tone, one range when you're over grunting to the call. So anyway, here's what the call sounds like with too much grunt. That's too much grunt. So when I'm putting the air correctly into here, hot air like fogging a window, it should sound like this. It's just whistling by. Also, the hotter air you put in the call, the less likely the call is to stick as well, because it keeps the reed vibrating a lot better than just cold air. Alright, now onto the single reed. This requires a little bit more precision and the right air and the right amount of grunt to get premium sound out of it. A lot of people, their throat will be squeezed down from not putting hot air into the call and not getting their throat open, in which the call will be either lock up or it'll go high or have a high pitched sound the whole time, so they can't get it deep. And typically when someone's doing that, they'll automatically think that they have to put a bunch more grunt into it to get the deeper sound, so their ear tells them put a lot of growl into the call to get it deeper. Well, in reality they need to get their throat open, fogging a window to get that deep sound. I'm going to show you what it sounds like when you're blowing not hot air into the call. No matter how much air pressure I put, the more I push, the higher it's going to go and the more likely the call is going to be to lock up. Now when I back way off the pressure, I'm still not putting hot air, but at least it's getting some kind of ducky sound. Now I'm gradually opening my throat and fogging the window, getting that hot air in there, and you can hear how the range and the rasp is opening up on it. Alright, now I'm going to blow into the call backwards. I'm going to blow into it with cold air first, just like I did at the beginning. Now I'm going to switch to hot air. with no grunt. That's just blowing air and shutting it off with a T. Now I'm going to put hot air and a short, very short grunt at the beginning. Hear the difference in the sound? Anyway, that's how you get the call open, get the most range out of the call by putting hot air into it like you're fogging a window. Keep the call deep and don't over grunt. One of the questions I think I get asked the most as far as during calling class or over the phone, how do you do the bouncing hen? Well, it's pretty simple to me now because I learned how to do it a long time ago. But when you're first learning, it's very tricky. The easiest way to explain it, it's quack with a tick. So if you go quack, tick, the motion that your tongue is doing during that time in the air and everything, that's basically the same thing I'm doing. Anyway, I practice that over and over and over. And then how to change it is basically, it's a delay of your tongue coming up and shutting the note off. That's how you get the little squeal at the end of it. So if you shut the note off sharp like you're supposed to on a regular or cadence, now I'm going to shut it off lazy. Hear how it squeaks at the end? I still shut it off though. So basically you're going quack tick. So as soon as you're about to pinch it off, you let back off again. And then once you get to the feel of the mechanics of it and get comfortable with where you can do it repeatedly and not get tongue-tied, then you either speed it up, slow it down. Hotter air, the better the sound. Remember that, that's key. So speed up, slow down, practice doing that. Less pressure too. So the hotter the air, less pressure. Try to bring it down. So once you're practicing that, just play with the different speeds and air pressures until you get comfortable with it to where you can produce different sounds and they don't get all jumbled up together. Alright, the other thing I get asked, probably right real close to the same amount, is how do you do that low growly duck? Okay, it's one of the more difficult things to do because it requires a super open throat and lots of hot air. And it doesn't require much air pressure, but you got to really get hot air into the call to get that low on the call to get the sound out. So anyway, this is how I do it. Now all I'm doing is really fogging the window. And I'm just dragging the note out just a little bit longer than normal. And that's just an old nasty hen is what we call it. Anyway, practice that and I hope that'll help you. And then a feed call. There's several ways to blow a feed call. You can say ticka ticka, tugga tugga, kitty kitty, or go 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 go. Use your throat more instead of shutting it off with your tongue. Several different ways. Of course, there's the rolling feed call, which is in competition calling, which don't really use that during duck hunting. You know, the key thing in feed call is keeping it deep, guttural, and broke up so it doesn't sound muddy or run together. You want it to try to sound like a bunch of ducks but not jumbled together. So single notes like this. Just practice single cut. Then it's more pressure, less pressure, faster, slower to break it up to sound like a bunch of different ducks. And then and I'm also putting a little bit of a whine in there. And how I come up with the feed call that I blow, I worked on a duck farm for a couple summers when I was a young teenager, raising mallard ducks. And anyway, when it would come time to feed those ducks, I would really listen to what they were doing whenever we'd pour the feed out. And it wasn't like this typical feed call that I heard most of the call people at the time making, or videos I'd watched. It didn't sound the same. It was more like just a cut. And they would get, as they get closer to the feed and closer to each other, they would get deeper and louder. So it's an aggression thing, and they're trying to run other ducks off, is from what I watched whenever I was working at the duck farm. So anyway, I got to where I was trying to do that instead of the typical, like, little shaker feed calls, how they sound, or the faster feed calls. So I just sat around and I'd get a duck call, and when I was on the duck farm, I'd listen and record them, or just try to get the duck call to sound the same as what I was hearing. So I would just play with it. Anyway, in order to produce that sound, you got to get really deep, and this is where you want to put the most grunt into the call. I'm talking as deep as you can get, the most grunt. You hear how I'm kind of changing the rhythm up and just kind of fluctuating my speed, and that's what breaks it up and makes it sound different. Also, the hand positioning will also create different back pressures and different sound as well. Anyway, I hope some of these tips help you. Feel free to email me at jonathan@echocalls, or shoot me a Facebook message. Be glad to help you. I get questions all the time about the calling and stuff. Anyway, I hope you enjoyed this episode of Duck Chatter, and hopefully some of these tips will help. Please stay tuned for next week's episode.